Hi guys, welcome to AdventureN. I'm Stephen, and in today's video we will be installing a Fox suspension kit into my N70 here, right here. Now you could probably already tell that this is being recorded after I've installed the video. Now the reason why is because whilst I was installing this video, I was also filming my previous video about DIY chassis repaints, which you can find here. So in the midst of trying to shoot two videos at once, I didn't actually do a proper intro to this video, so here we are. So yeah, I got the Fox kit from Phatbars up in Brisbane, and I tell you what, it's completely changed the vehicle from on-road performance, but then also off-road. The beautiful thing about the Fox kit, yes, it is a little bit more expensive, but there's a reason why it is. These shocks are fully serviceable, meaning I can remove them, send them away to a service center, and they're a completely brand new shock. Other kits out there are literally, you buy them, you pretty much run them to the ground, and they're a throwaway shock. So you're almost paying, 2 to 3 times for new kits, as opposed to just simply sending the shocks away to get serviced, and they're completely brand new. Without further ado, let's get into the install. Now I'm sort of lucky in that I already had the tub and canopy off, so it was extremely easy for me to come at these shock absorbers from the top. And having this nice clean, well, relatively easy working area just made the process a lot easier to get this rear suspension out. As you can tell, this is part way through of the previous video of when I was repainting the chassis. Alright, you're probably thinking, why the hell have I got the angle grinder out? Well, when I was trying to remove one of these bolts on this U-bolt, for some reason it probably just got hung up on a track or a rock when I've been out bush, but it's actually bent the U-bolt. So, and yeah, some things are just far easier to just completely cut and remove than sitting there and bashing the living daylights out of this bolt and bolt thread. So yeah, this was a very good solution. The front is probably a little bit more difficult than the rear, as there's a bunch of these split pins and there's a whole lot going on, but it's pretty simple stuff. I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube of other guys doing these installs, so pretty much what I got to do is remove or break the tension of this nut, whack it, then that should release the tension of the up control arm. Obviously release all these bolts at the top and then down the bottom. Bit of an update. That was a freaking mission. I'm not gonna lie, this is my first time doing anything suspension wise, but here's the old, oh shit, here's the old one. The thing with this one is it's not pre-assembled. You got your top hat and everything that sits, it's actually over here. Let me get it. You got your whole top hat and everything, so this went on top of that, which then this one in the middle clamped it all down. It was a bit of a shit house thing to get out of there, whereas the Fox is pre-built, so theoretically I can just slot this straight in and it'll be much easier to get out in the future. that was the left hand side strut that I just removed, and then now I'm moving on to the right. As I say, you don't learn until you try something. I learned here in the previous strut not to undo the main top bolt on the hat, because that disassembles the whole strut. So I learned not to undo that bolt. So theoretically this right hand side now should take a lot less time and a lot less fiddling around to do. So let's get to it. Sometimes you just need to give bolts a little bit more encouragement. Time to get these shocky boys in. Let's go. One thing I did notice when I got these shocks from Phatbars is they're a little bit skewed, like the shock absorber wasn't sitting in the center of the spring. Now I did reach out to Phatbars and Paul did reassure me that this is completely normal, and what causes that is when they're putting this top hat assembly on, just the way that the spring is manufactured, it doesn't sit flush. But he assured me once I get it in there and then put some pressure and then obviously use it a little bit, it will level itself out. So let's get it in. Here's a hot tip that I learned from my old man here. Run a ratchet strap around your jack and then jack up the lower control arm, and that should give you enough play to get the ball joint back in and connected. Something I did notice is, I don't know if you can see it, but this upper control arm is just in there, just rubbing on the spring a little bit. Now I'm hoping it's because these are brand new and that the top part hasn't settled in. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Worst case scenario, there's just gonna be a little bit of rubbing and then may have to get an upper control arm. We'll just have to see. Alright, so this is the moment of truth. I've obviously installed the two struts, got the front wheels on, and it's ready to drop the front back down on the ground. Now, I haven't done the rear suspension yet, but the reason why I want to get the front on first is so when I lift up the rear with a forklift, there's no risk of the front slipping off any axle stands or jack stands. So that's why I wanted to do the front first, and then I'm gonna get onto the rear. Alright, here we go. Let's see how much this drops down by. Let's go. Whoosh! That looks so much better. Before, I had maybe that much between the top of the tire and the guard. Now, unfortunately, I was a little bit silly and I didn't measure the center of the hub to the guard, but I know just by looking at it that there's a lot more space now. Now it's onto the rear. Now the fronts were freaking hard. That was the first time me doing such an install, but I'm glad I did it because the only way you learn is by doing. So anyway, off onto the rear leaf springs now. These are going to be a lot easier than the front. Essentially all I need to do is, I've got thankfully an access to a forklift, so all I'll do is raise the rear, and what that will do is separate the leaf spring from the rear axle. Now there's only one bolt at the front of the leaf spring, 2 bolts near the shackle at the back here. I have already undone the U-bolts already. That was taken off prior to me recoating the chassis. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here's the new rear leaf springs that will be going in. These are 0 to 300 kilo. Now the reason why I went with 0 to 300 is because I do have airbag assistance, so I don't have to go as heavy in the leaf springs if I am carrying a load, because I'll just pump up the airbags to compensate for the load. So we got new bolts for the front eyelets and for the leaf springs, new shackles, new U-bolts to obviously connect the leaf springs to the diff, and new bushings. So yeah, let's get it in. So as you can see at the end of that time-lapse video, me just sitting there looking at the vehicle in absolute disappointment, trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to fit this new rear leaf spring into the vehicle. Now, long story short, turns out Phatbars accidentally supplied me with a N80 rear leaf spring. Now, where the confusion came about is when I ordered this kit, I specifically ordered it so I can have it on this vehicle, but then also if I upgrade to an N80, that I can transfer this kit into the newer N80. So by me requesting that, I've actually got longer rear shocks as opposed to a standard N80. So that's where the confusion came about, and nothing against Phatbars at all. Their customer service was absolutely fantastic. When I soon realized that I had the wrong rear leaf spring, I sent Paul a text message, I think at like 7 o'clock Saturday morning. I had a text message reply within 15 minutes. And then from there, about a 10 to 15 minute phone call with Paul. Got it all sorted up. I just had to drive back up to Phatbars up in Brisbane, which, I mean, realistically, it's only about an hour and a bit away. Did a complete swap of the old leaf springs to the new. Excuse the Cobra and the Sunnies, it's freaking hot right now. Anyway, so as you just saw there, I've just raised the back of the vehicle with the forklift. Now, extreme caution in this state. I've only just raised it so the wheels are like just above the ground, so if the forklift does lose pressure, it will just slowly go down. This is probably one of the more safer methods. I've seen some methods where they use a bottle jack on the tow bar with one single point. Anytime that you're working under your vehicle, just exercise safety and caution. Anyway, so the rear shocks finally arrived from America, so time to get these bad boys in. You can probably tell now that I've got everything back together, because it has been probably about 2 to 3 weeks after I did the recoating on the chassis and whatnot, but these shocks should be pretty easy. I've just got one bolt up in there and another bolt down here, same thing for the other side, and that should be the full Fox suspension kit from Phatbars installed. It's always the case that the first time you do anything it takes forever, but then the second time you go and do it, it's a lot quicker. So that second one was a lot easier to get off and install because you learn from the first time you did it. So the last thing I need to do, guys, is I need to just source a little bracket for here just to extend these brake lines, because this is almost at full droop. It's either I get a bracket or I get some extended brake lines, which I'll probably get some extended brake lines, to be honest. So that's the next thing on the mod list. Ew. So that pretty much wraps this video up, guys. If you've got any questions for me in relation to this Fox kit, feel free to comment below and ask away, or if not, you can directly contact Paul and the team at Phatbars if you've got any questions in relation to suspension. Like I said before, they answered every single question that I had in relation to this kit, but then also other kits as well. And that's it for the Fox suspension install, guys. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2.